Okay, today we will discuss about three essential concepts in economics theory. The concept of market, the concept of demand, as well as the concept of supply. First, let's discuss about the market. What is a market? Market is usually defined as a place or medium for interactions between suppliers and demanders, buyers and sellers. So there are three essential things here. One is there must be existence of a place, but not necessarily a place, a physical place. And there must be a sellers and there must be a buyers as well. Place, first let's discuss about the place. Place can be physical place, like the common markets that we usually go to buy and shop for grocery and things like that. But in recently, we also have a case of a place where it's a medium. For example, perhaps like students in here use the digital market like Traveloka, for example, or a digital media, Bukalapak or whatever that they use to buy stuff, and that can be considered as a market as well. So market, the three characters of market must have a place, medium, buyers and sellers. The second one, the essential things about market is there must be existence of buyers or demanders here. Usually buyers or demanders in the economic theory is represented by demand curve. The demand curve itself can be defined as the relationship between quantity demanded and the price at the given times. So usually we have like the characteristic of a demand curve which has a downward sloping demand curve. Why is it downward sloping? Because usually when the price increase, there will be incentive for consumers, for buyers, to lower its quantity demanded. And there are several things which actually affect the demand curve or the demand itself. First is a change in consumer tastes. So when you when you prefer or less prefer something, then your quantity demanded for that particular good will be declining. Vice versa. When your preference or taste for that particular good is increasing, perhaps because of ads, advertisings, and trends in your friends, then you're going to increase the quantity demanded for that good. The second one is the change in number of buyers. Obviously, in the big country like Indonesia, China, United States, when there's a big populations, the quantity demand for a particular good will be higher than compared to those like which have low number of populations. The third one is change in incomes. Obviously, when your income is higher, then the demand for that particular good is higher as well compared to when your income is low. So, but in this case, I mean, like in terms of income, we usually economists also divided between two categories of products. First is what we call as normal goods. Normal goods usually when the income of a particular people is increased, then the demand for that kind of good, the normal good, will be increased as well. But on the other hand, we also have like a category of good which is called inferior good, where the demand for that kind of good, particular good, will be declining when the consumer income is actually increased. And we usually call the inferior good is inferior. So it's a low quality, cheap products that when, for example, you become richer or you suddenly got endowment or something that higher your income, then your demand for that particular good, because it's a low quality, you change your shift to a more higher quality and obviously higher in price in terms of higher price goods. So, and the other things that affect the demand for a good is also the price of related goods. Obviously, when the price of, let's say for example, that between two kind of phone, Android phone and iPhones. So when these two kind of good is a competitive good and it's a substitute goods. But when the price of one good, so for example, the price of iPhone is actually decreasing. So obviously, at the same time, your demand for the Android phone will be decreasing as well because you're going to shift to iPhone. And on the other hand, when the price of iPhone is actually increased, then the demand for Android phone at the same time will increase as well. So between substitute good, there will be a relationship that negative one. So when the one is high, then the other one is going to be up. And in terms of price of related good, there's also what we call as a complementary good. Complementary good is a good that must be consumed together. For example, cigarettes and a lighter, a computer and a keyboard. And when you do these consume these two things together, the price of one complement good obviously will decrease. When an increase in the price of a complementary good will decrease the demand, the quantity demand for the complementary good that must be consumed with that good. Finally, there is an expectations. So when there is an expectation, for example, today because of the trade war between China and the United States, then the consumer expectations will be gloomy. I mean, like the economic will experience a downturn in the next 1 or 2 years, 3 years. Then there will be decreasing of quantity demanded. So finally, there are also what we call as a market demand. What we explain is a individual demand. So how are we going to get like this market demand? Market demand is simply a summations of the total individual demand.